mean, managing China hasn't been easy. Reassuring Russia hasn't been easy. Getting Japan into play hasn't been easy. In our times, the biggest change we have seen in the world is the rise of China. It has, because of the comparison, it has, in a sense, shall I say, mitigated somewhat the dramatic rise of India.
This is how you describe, I think, the strategy. This is a time for us to engage America, manage China, cultivate Europe, reassure Russia, bring Japan into play, draw neighbors in, extend the neighborhood, and expand traditional constituencies of support.
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's in essence what we've been doing. Mind you, it's not been easy. I mean, managing China hasn't been easy. Reassuring Russia hasn't been easy. Getting Japan into play hasn't been easy. So, those are the natural challenges of a changing world. But I was trying for a kind of a lay reader really to sum up the multiple directions which we would have to address in different ways. So, life diplomacy is not linear, it's not unifocal. It's also not a zero-sum game. I mean, it's sometimes people think if this relationship is moving better, that means that relationship must be worse. That need not be the case. I mean, I think a lot of that depends on our strategy and our skills. So the thrust of what I was projecting was a kind of a development along multiple axes towards multiple centers, multiple poles, multiple regions. And that requires an enormous dexterity. That it's like having multiple balls up in the air and you've got to keep it going. And, well, I'm really getting into mixed metaphors, but it's like a high trapeze act with multiple balls in the air. And, you've got to keep getting better and better at it if you really want to progress. And in an interesting way, I would suggest that this year has been a demonstration of it. That, we have had challenges in the Indo-Pacific. We've had challenges in Eurasia. We have tried to kind of effectively address both. We are today seen even more strongly than before as speaking up for the interests of the global South. But we are also seen as actually a deeply democratic power which has underlined the values, the relevance of democracy, which looks today as in the digital domain at the importance of trust and transparency. We are also seen as a additional engine of growth which is trying to make supply chains more reliable and resilient. So you have like multiple roles, multiple targets, multiple relationships, and it's like a it's like a 360 which you got to keep doing. The biggest change we have seen in the world is the rise of China. No question about it. Okay. Now, what that has done so far is it has, because of the comparison, it has, in a sense, shall I say, mitigated somewhat the dramatic rise of India, which is a point which Professor Panagaria was, in a sense, also making. That if you evaluate India on its own merits, how much we have progressed, the growth rates which he was speaking about is fantastic. But then you have China, which has risen faster, more dramatically in the same time span. The issue for us today is how do two rising powers in absolute proximity to each other find a modus vivendi in a dynamic situation. It's in our mutual interest that we find a way of accommodating each other, because if we do not, the whole idea that Asia, the rise of Asia is contingent on the two biggest economies of Asia getting along with each other, or the three biggest economies of Asia getting along with each other.